Wendell is at Penguicon. His audio is not syncing correctly. That ain't gonna stop us. I've got a cold. That ain't gonna stop us. We are in the process of moving the office, and we only have a couple more days here, and almost everything else in the house is packed up. But this is still here because you guys need the tech.
I'm in Michigan, but my audio is still in Ohio.
It hasn't caught up yet. I think they've got some science to, I don't even know. We've got lots of science going on. Yeah, just a mess right now. Still have that picture open, the comparison of the copper infrastructure and the new fiber. Look at that. That is ridiculous. Just starting off with some fun today.
This was posted somewhere, and so this was a line technician, and it's like, this is the copper and this is the fiber. And you look at it and it's like, wow, why aren't we already on fiber like we have always been saying? But you got to think about it. When somebody went to replace that, about 50 people didn't have phone service for quite a while they sorted out that terrible mess. But that's how we got in the situation where they're like, oh God, we don't want to put in fiber, because they don't want to touch that ball of insanity because it's going to break everything.
You see, if they did this in like an older neighborhood and they cut off everyone's phone lines, there's going to be a lot of complaints. But they can't call it a complaint, so who cares? If you do this in a neighborhood with the younger generations, millennials, and that sort of thing, nobody's even going to know that their phone wasn't working. It's just going to be like, most of them don't even have a phone. Do you guys have a phone? I just got a phone. I've got a Google Voice phone. It's like $3 a month, and I like it. It's nice. I use it because it feels neat to have an old school phone in your hands. It's like a nostalgic thing. And I put on like 80s jeans and listen to power ballads and talk on the regular phone.
Hey, if the 80s is all about bringing back David Hasselhoff and Knight Rider, I'm there.
Can we get somebody else maybe now for Knight Rider? I think he's night ridden out into the sunset already.
Well, they tried Val Kilmer, and that ended really badly.
Yeah. Every once in a while I like to start with something fun instead of like all the sadness. So let's just have a quick talk about space junk. So they're thinking about putting some lasers out into orbit, and they're going to be putting them on the space station. Now, the thing about space junk is there's a lot of space junk. Like, how many tons? A gazillion tons. Where is it? There's actually a number here somewhere. 60 tons, something like that. Space junk. And a lot of people are like, the first thought is, okay, there's a bunch of stuff floating around outer space. Well, who cares? There's just like, it's just floating out there. No. This stuff is small. Some of it's, the size of this mug. Some of it's the size of a graphics card. Some of it's the size of a Buick. Some of it's the size of, maybe your thumb. That stuff can be really bad because it's traveling at speeds of about 10 times the speed of a bullet. That was a weird sentence, but yeah. So they need a way to stop it because it can damage the space station. The smaller stuff is very difficult to dodge.
It's also satellites. Satellites are things that really take a ton of damage, and then it's like just one day we don't have GPS in that part of America. It's kind of bad.
Yeah, and it's been getting exponentially worse for the last several years. So they need something to stop it. Japan says lasers. Now there's going to be a big talk about, should we have lasers in outer space? These lasers are going to be hooked to a telescope, which is interesting, and they're going to be able to spot debris up to 1 centimeter, down to 1 centimeter in size, and then it'll be able to neutralize it. And they say, in the next several years, they can pretty much make it go away as a problem. So lasers in outer space. Could anything go wrong? I don't know. Are you worried about lasers in space?
There's probably already lasers in space, and the government doesn't want to talk about it. But I'm kind of surprised. I don't think that they really even need to vaporize the trash. I think if they heat one side of it, the heating of it would naturally sort of move it out of orbit.
Oh, well, I guess what they're actually doing is exactly that. If you hear, I'm reading here somewhere, they're heating it, and the idea is to knock it towards the Earth, where it's going to hit the atmosphere and then just burn up. So they're not like really vaporizing it. These lasers are not going to be powerful enough to vaporize space debris. That's what I always. That's like an insult you could tell your friends. Like, man, you're not even powerful enough to vaporize space debris. Go
Actually,
lift.
this might kill two birds with one stone. All those yahoos that have the green laser pointers that are driving the airline pilots crazy, give those guys something to do and be like, hey, there's this thing, this piece of space junk that's tracking across the sky. Go outside, find it with your telescope, and then mount your green laser pointer to the eyepiece of your telescope and blow it. If you have about 10,000 people with their, 5 watt or 5 mega, I don't know, some
Whatever it
wattage
is.
green laser pointer, that would be interesting, I think.
I don't know if I want a gazillion people outside pointing lasers in the sky. There's going to be people doing it randomly, just hoping they hit something. And then we're going to have planes, landing in Texas for no reason. I thought we were going to San Antonio. No, we're going to Dallas because we had to land early because some idiot pointed a laser and it hit the wing, and then someone saw it in aisle 4. And
So many things in my life are because some idiot.
oh God! Every time you travel, just remember, almost everything you do is because some idiot. And every time you see a sign on the side of the road that says, or a sign like you go into like I don't know, a hotel or something, and it's like, please, no eating babies. That's because someone came there and ate a baby. Some idiot. Now you can't eat babies.
I saw one once. It was, please do not flush soap down toilet. And it's like, how did this happen? How did this happen?
Oh God! Somebody was like, hey, let's have a bubble bath. No, it's not how it works. So you guys only have a few days left on the that's it. The design of the month, right there it is. The Penguin. And the tri-blend shirts, again, are outselling the regular shirts. I like the feel of the tri-blend shirts. They are a little bit more fitted, so some people opt for the cotton shirts, and also the cotton has, I guess, a less faded print. I kind of like the vintage faded, but it's up to you guys. So anyway, the design of the month, only a few more days, and then we're going to retire that one for a good long time, maybe a few years. I don't even know. If it ever comes back, it'll be like hey, remember that penguin we did several years ago? Well, this is version 2. It's still not as elite as version 1, but if you like the design, here it is again. So yeah, that's that. Now you know our plans if I want to bring it back. We also just added the Your OS Sucks shirt. So if you guys work at Microsoft, I suggest you get one of these and wear it to work. If you guys work at, if you work for the Ubuntu people, what are they?
Canonical.
Yeah, Canonical, wear one to work. If you guys work, just wear it to your server farm, wear it to work. It's sort of an inside joke. And everyone on 4chan buy this. Because no matter what you say, even if someone says Arch, you're like, well, what are you running on top of Arch? So it's like you can't win.
Unless you're running a herd, in which case
you might
win.
get a pass. But don't you have to be running Sabian, or do they want you to run Arch still? I don't even know what they want me to do with my life anymore. So, but while we're talking about all this nonsense, are you going to have a chance to sit down with ESR anytime this week and maybe not talk about OSs, maybe actually talk about getting real things done?
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I'm sort of in new territory. So it turns out I'm not really a people person. So it's going to be interesting to see how this actually goes.
But these are maybe more your people. I don't know. Maybe.
Not really a people person.
Not at all. All right. What's next on the list here? So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut through this. Apparently, Facebook, we said we were juxtaposing, we were going back and forth. That's like a high school or a college English teacher word. I'm not going to use stuff like that around here. Facebook does collect your data that you type and then delete. They do. Let's move on. Now, let's talk a little bit more about Facebook. So, we didn't really talk about internet.org much, but Indiana's Indiana.
Christopher Columbus made that mistake, sort of.
Is this Indiana? Yeah, you guys are all from Indiana, ain't you?
Yeah.
Y'all like NASCAR? Yeah.
Turning left at 600 miles an hour.
Only 200. They have. Do they even have NASCAR in Europe? Because in Europe, I figure like the brain is more developed, so they actually like turns, so they watch F1 or rally.
Yeah, it's not 600
I just
miles an
insulted
hour,
everyone who
but-
watches NASCAR. You guys insult yourself by watching that crap. I don't have any opinions about NASCAR, really. I'm just being an idiot. Okay, so let's go to India. That's what we should do. Not Indiana. So, in India, the net neutrality activists are going crazy, and they're all hating on Facebook, and I think for good reason. So, Mark Zuckerberg has gotten together. If you do not know what internet.org is, I'll break it down for you. So internet.org is internet for free, but only a little bit of the internet. Think of it as like basic cable. So Zuckerberg got together and he's like, okay, so we can be an ISP. We can give people internet. We can give it to them for free, but we're only going to give them certain services. And whatever services, jump on our platform and give us money and we bundle them together, then those will be the services. So it's, Facebook and a few other things. And that's what he's doing. He wants to give internet to everyone. And then, of course, everyone's criticizing him because they're like, well, that's totally fair. That's, anti-net neutrality. People are only going to have access to Facebook. If a mom and pop company comes and they develop their own social network, well, if the people that are on your service, they're not going to be able to access it. And he's like, but it's free. It's free. I'm giving them free service. And wouldn't you agree that some connectivity is better than no connectivity? And I'm not sure if I agree with that, because if people get stuck, if they start using internet.org and they get stuck using internet.org, and then possibly internet comes into their area that's like $5 or $10, they are more likely to stay with internet.org, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe some of the more tech savvy ones will want to upgrade, but I don't know. Is it worth giving people free access if they are restricted to only a few things controlled by some major corporations that don't have a very good track record for privacy? I mean, is that? Well, I don't know. Is he doing a good thing here, or that I'm just not seeing it?
The irony here is that this is what cable companies want in America. They want to control the medium. The same way that cable television is sort of controlled. It's like, you will take the channels that we give you and you will like it, and there is nothing else. It's kind of like that. If your cable company doesn't carry BBC America, you're screwed. There's nothing. Yeah,
but they want you to pay for it here. He's giving it away for free, and that's his way of getting around it, because he's going to make a lot of money if more people are on Facebook. And if that's the only option, he's not going to have to worry about any extra bandwidth, because all the bandwidth is going to be used for Facebook and for other companies that are all putting money in his pocket. So anyway he looks at it, it's money in his pocket. So that, I guess that's the main difference, is that it's free. But you're right. It's like, it is a huge step back for the internet. It's a step back to a different business model, a more television style business model. And that's not what the internet's ever been about. So
this actually happened a couple of times here in the States, and it was dealt with really interestingly by the courts. And so what happened was AT&T was doing exactly this with their AT&T Wireless. Maybe it was Bell Wireless, Bell South Wireless, or one of the AT&T subsidiaries that was a wireless carrier. They were doing wireless television. It was only the AT&T wireless television. And there was a guy who wanted to watch a TV show, and it was available on Netflix. So he watched it on Netflix, and of course he got an insane data bill. But he took him to court, and the court correctly reasoned that if he was able to watch the television show, at least as far as U.S. law goes, if he was able to watch the television show through AT&T, and that cost basically nothing, then it should cost exactly the same to watch that same show through Netflix. India doesn't have the same kind of protections. They've got a basically corrupt communications company, which is the other problem with internet.org. A lot of the critics are saying, well, this communications company is basically as corrupt as they come, and Zuckerberg is in bed with them. And because of that, this is a real problem, because it's not really classifying data as data, even though he's paying for it. And so if the law infrastructure in India is such that they could look at it and say, well, if Zuckerberg's paying for your data, it only costs 3 cents a kilobyte or whatever. If you want to pay for something on your own and get internet access, and that's also only 3 cents a kilobyte, then I would almost say that this is almost an okay thing, because it's going to drive the raw cost of data down. But I don't think that there exists the legal infrastructure in India to have that level of transparency. I think that the reality is that if it's Zuckerberg's kilobyte, then it's going to be very low cost. But if it's somebody else's kilobyte, then they're going to price it, $1 or $2 or $3 or something absurdly high in order to steer you to something else. And that's the anti-competitive thing, and that's the sort of anti-internet thing. That's the component of it that I think is bad.
I've got mixed feelings about this, because I'm kind of for Google Fiber. I've been very positive about Google Fiber and all that, But I'm starting to feel like it may be a big conflict of interest, especially when you start looking at other companies, like Facebook. And what if Microsoft did this, started offering their own internet service? What if, I guess all the big guys, Comcast and all the stuff, they all do. It just seems like if the ISP has such an interest in the internet, they have massive websites and they make tons of money from the internet. It just seems weird that they can't be allowed to favor their own services like this. It's going to be bad for the internet as a whole. That's the biggest problem I have with this, is that he is favoring his own service. I haven't seen Google do that with their Google Fiber. They just give you internet. It's unmetered. There you go. Gigabit. Thank you very much. Well, they don't give you just, all the Google services run faster or anything like that. I would have a problem with it then, but I still would rather go with a mom and pop. But,
It is the case with Google that there is a free option with Google Fiber. I think you can pay a one-time $300 installation fee and get 5 megabits for life. Now, I think they've discontinued that program now. But when they first rolled out Google Fiber, that was an option. But that was the whole internet, not just Google services.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem, and that's why I'm kind of okay with Google being involved. But a lot of the other services that favor their own, in my opinion, they go against the whole net neutrality idea. And I don't think that Facebook running an ISP for just Facebook is going to be good for the internet or the people of India and Indonesia. It just launched in Indonesia. I think it may be cool to have them online for a little while and let them connect with their Facebook friends if that's what they want to do. But if it breaks the other options or makes people not go for mom and pop options or other internet connectivity options, it may stifle innovation. It may keep people from learning about the true internet. It may do a lot of negative things. So I'm not for it, man. At least not when Facebook's concerned. All right, what's next on the list? Let's talk about this no iOS zone. So there's a security research group called SkyCure, and they determined that if you specially crafted an SSL certificate, that you could crash iOS. And he pretty much you can crash like any app on iOS. They found that out, and they're like, wait a minute, we can crash the OS, and like every time it reboots, you basically send it into a reboot loop. It reboots, and it goes, oh shit. And then it reboots, and then it goes, oh shit, and it just keeps doing that forever.
So what happens is
the only way? Yeah, go ahead.
It sees a Wi-Fi network, and it's like, oh, this Wi-Fi network has, there's a custom SSL certificate for this Wi-Fi network, but there's a bug in the library that processes that SSL certificate. So if you have a malformed SSL certificate, it will literally crash the entire operating system, and so it restarts. And so you can and there's no fix for it. If you wander into a zone that has this type of a Wi-Fi access point broadcasting this type of a malformed SSL certificate, there is literally nothing you can do until you move out of the zone and turn your Wi-Fi off. So it's kind of funny. I will laugh derisively.
I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up a coffee shop in Williamsburg, New York, and it's going to be called Nobody's, and I'm going to be running a network that is feeding this SSL certificate, and there's going to be nobody there. It'll be wonderful. I'll only be in business for about a month, but it'll be funny for that first month. It'll be a good joke, worth the $15,000 rent for whatever it is out there.
It would be a lot of fun to deploy at Penguin, but I don't think anybody would be affected.
People in Penguin like to tinker with their OS. That's the general consensus, I think. All right, so let's talk about Uber's next undertaking. The co-founder of Uber, Garrett Camp, has a new interesting app called Operator. So he gets these epiphanies all the time. So his latest epiphany, I guess he had it in 2001, was that we've sort of removed operators from, like human operators from a lot of the things we do on the internet. And he was like, what if we could have a human operator involved in your online shopping? So for instance, you have, in the article here, they reference a pair of shoes. You have a pair of shoes, got some holes in it. You're like, well, I really want a new pair of shoes. So you go grab your shoes, take a picture of them, and you throw it on Operator. And soon enough, an operator, at any one of these, any different shoe store, because there'll be, terminals installed in lots of different physical stores, they can help you through this terminal that's in their physical store or in their physical warehouse or wherever they are. And they can be like, oh, you're looking for that kind of shoe, leather? Okay, I think I've got that brand. You want to go with a different color? They can talk to you for a little bit and then give you a nice internet price and send it to you. I imagine it'll be a little bit more than like what you could get on Amazon, because you're dealing with, you got the operator there. but it's a new, interesting way to look at online shopping. So I've been using a few services like this. The last one I used, I think, was FlightFox to book our flights to Asia. And I didn't even tell you about this, Wendell. So this service, I used a curator because I was going crazy. I'm trying to book my flights, and Kane's flights. We're leaving from 2 different cities, and then we're going around Asia in a few different places. So I wanted to fly there from 2 different places, get together, and then fly together, and then split up again and fly back to our, different spots. And we're leaving on different days and all this kind of stuff. And I was pulling my hair out trying to find these deals. So I found a service where you can go in and you pay a set price for however many locations you're going to. And mine ended up being like $150. And then you give it to someone who starts trying to find the best deals for you. And this guy came back, saved me about $700 to $800 over the best deals that I could find, and it was so easy. So I kind of like the curated experience, even though it cost me a little bit of money, a little bit more money than initially. I ended up saving money. I'm happier with my product, and the main thing for me is time. I didn't have to waste any of my time. I could do other things while this other guy took care of all the nonsense and the rigmarole of trying to figure out what all these different flights were. So I think he may be onto something here, and I would not mind using a service like this. I wouldn't have to go online and read a bunch of stuff. I could just go talk to an operator, and as long as I find an operator that I can trust, I'll be happy. That's the one thing I'll be worried about. I don't want to go back in time to the days before the internet where people are like, "Oh yeah, it's the best thing ever. I'll send it to you," and it's actually crap. So that'd be the only drawback that I could see is that they may be recommending whatever they puts the most money in their pocket instead of what's best for you.
I'm going to buy some new shoes. And it's like, oh, they mailed it to me. And you open it. It's like, oh, someone mailed me a brick.
Yeah. There's got to be a way that they can get around that. But I think it's pretty interesting new business model,
Yeah, I get the feeling that this would work a lot better in a metropolitan area because it read like he was planning on having, the Uber drivers or the taxi drivers that aren't doing anything.
Right.
Basically doing the deliveries or doing the pickup or being the actual operators.
Right, and then the terminals will be in stores. It's going to launch in, I think, New York and San Francisco first. So yeah, it will be big cities. But I don't see why you couldn't do mail order as well. So, all right, next up on the list, Comcast plans to drop the Time Warner cable deal. This is speculation from Bloomberg. Do we have an official announcement yet? Should we maybe Google?
We do not have an official announcement, but
not yet.
This is live. It may be official. So I'm sure everyone in the comments will be like, nope, wrong, or what? You guys don't know that was actually approved. But from our perspective, it just looks like it's going to go through, but it hasn't gone through yet.
Yeah, and a lot of it's based upon Bloomberg's reporting. They kept referencing like, well, according to our reporting. I'm like, well, what does that mean? Like, who did you talk to? They must have heard from someone, and they can't come out and say who. They can't name the source, but they're going forward with the news, and I'm sure someone is angry and getting slapped right now for opening their fat mouth and talking to the press. And he's like, it was off the record. Well, according to their reporting, it's happening. That's what's going on, I think.
So what's actually going to happen is they're going to put off the Comcast Time Warner merger while Comcast and Time Warner absorb every other communications company in America, and then when there's no one left, they will devour one another in some sort of just disgusting, mess of insanity of capitalistic just. Ugh.
They're the blob, man. They're like this giant gelatinous ooze that just sucks up everything in its path. That's what
it is really horrifying, but at the same time, it's like everyone in America really hates both of these companies, not just because they're incompetent. Not just because they have a cavalier attitude about customer service, and you'll take what we have and you'll like it, and there's nothing you can do. It's like, what result did you expect? I mean, come on.
Did you see the Onion article today? The article basically said that all the ISPs got together, all the major ISPs like Time Warner and Comcast and everything, they got together and they decided that next Wednesday they're just going to take $100 out of everyone's account, and they're gonna maybe in the future continue to do so again. And then in the article, they were like, because they want to, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. That was a pretty good Onion article, I thought.
We joke about that, but the right executive comes into power in one of these companies, and that's gonna happen. It's probably already happening.
We were talking earlier about major companies and ISPs. So here, Google has something new going on for their Nexus 6 owners that is an entirely new paradigm, and hopefully it'll be a look at the future. Possibly it'll be a look at the future. Maybe not, though. So what they're doing is this new thing called Project Fi. You get a Google phone, and the idea is that as you travel around, you're just always connected. You go home, you're on Wi-Fi. You go to your office, you're on Wi-Fi, and it's basically like a ubiquity network that's everywhere. You're supposed to seamlessly be able to transfer. Now, here's the interesting thing. It works with T-Mobile, and it also works with Sprint. And it doesn't care which service you have. You just have Project Fi. So, or maybe it's
Turns
Fi.
out data's data. Who knew?
Yeah. So whatever, if you're closer to a Sprint antenna, well, you're on that one. And if you keep moving, you'll hop seamlessly onto a T-Mobile antenna. And then when you get home, you'll be on your Wi-Fi. And all the time, you'll be able to do all the mobile stuff like text, receive calls, because exactly, data is data. Now, the question is, could this be a model for the future? Will a lot of the big carriers now, like T-Mobile and Sprint and Verizon, will they sort of become backhaul or whatever? I don't know. And then other companies who create the connectivity or create the, I don't even know what Google's doing here. Create the packages. Will they be the ones selling the packages? I know Google's not making much money on this, but
Well,
I don't know. Do you think we can see more of this in the future?
no, this actually should be a topic for one of our upcoming videos, maybe on the
Like a
Linux
special.
channel or something else. I think
Yeah.
the technology that makes this work on the Google side is called multipath TCP. What that means is that you have devices that can be connected to multiple networks at once. Right now with TCP routing, it's really not very good. You have a gateway and the packets make it there, and if the packets suddenly start showing up from a different IP address, the receiving system generally rejects them. Multipath TCP is a modification of that to allow the packets to take multiple routes, potentially, to a remote destination. It's been in the Linux kernel for a very little while. And I've tinkered with setting up a VPN that would actually use this so that I can have a VPN on a client device that doesn't necessarily exactly support multipath TCP, but it would take a multipath route to the VPN endpoint. And then from there, it could, function in a sort of legacy kind of a way. And it's funny because Apple iOS actually implemented this first with iOS 8. But I don't think that it's really in vogue yet because a lot of the client websites don't really support it. And so how it's supposed to work is you have an established connection. Like if you're streaming video or whatever, you've got an open connection to the server. And when you've got an open connection to the server, packets are sort of streaming in. So like if you're on the 4G network that's using up your precious 4G data, but if you wander into a hotspot, like a known Wi-Fi hotspot, it would be nice if it could hop over to that. Well, with that established connection, a normal TCP connection can't do that. You have to disconnect and reconnect, and so it'll buffer and do some weird stuff. The YouTube app can actually do that. It can deal with like a disconnect and a reconnect and IP address change, but most of the time, it doesn't work from a TCP standpoint that way. But with multipath TCP, the handoff happens transparently. And so I think that the TCP stack has been modified on the Nexus 6 to support multipath, because multipath actually works really well if all of the endpoints support it. So like if you're going to go to google.com and it supports multipath, you're going to have a great experience. But if you're trying to go to microsoft.com and it doesn't implement multipath, it's just going to act like the legacy connection. And so with this, it really is data agnostic. And if you have multiple connections to multiple networks, this is going to be a game changer, because dropped calls, like imagine a couple of years in the future where you've got multipath to everything. If you've got multiple 4G network connections, multiple 4G tower connections, Wi-Fi plus 4G, or Bluetooth, if you're doing Bluetooth stuff, data, whatever. If you've got multiple connections, your actual open connections for voice and data are going to be that much more resilient. And so we could actually enter a phase where these wireless connections are as reliable as a wired connection, because you've got multiple open streams to multiple towers, multiple wireless access points from your phone. And because everything is multipath, your traffic is going to get there even when one of the connections dropped out, or a bird flying by occludes something or whatever.
In this video here that I played on the page, someone jogged by holding a smartphone. Do people actually jog gripping their Nexus 6? Is that where we are now? I guess we have to have this technology if people are going to go for a jog with it. It's fun. These lifestyle videos always crack me up. I just totally derailed your stuff there. I was like watching this video and I was like, wow, there's some really silly things happening in this video. Anyway, let's go on and talk about Snowden, shall we? Let's get to that Snowden poll. So I guess about a week or two ago, we talked about Snowden, and John Oliver did some interviews in New York, and a lot of people did not know who he was, and if they did know who he was, they thought he was, well, they thought he was the director of WikiLeaks. So just people, it blew my mind. So here is a more in-depth poll, and it turns out that most people in America dislike Edward Snowden. The millennials and the younger generations are more positive about him, but the strange thing is once you leave the USA, most people like him. You know, Spain, Netherlands, Britain,
Could that have
Germany.
anything to do with our horribly broken media?
I wonder what's influencing that opinion. Could it be Fox News? Could it be CNN? I don't know.
The other thing that's slightly misleading there is that the number of millennials, our younger generation, and the number of baby boomers, our older generation, are almost equal. It's a little bit in favor of the baby boomers, but over the next 5 to 10 years, the millennials are going to overtake things, and the millennials have a completely different perspective on this. Even with the millennials, even though there's less favoritism, it's still 56% of millennials thought what Snowden did was a good thing. And so politically, that's going to be like a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, I mean, the millennials, they grew up with the internet, whereas before you had, television. I don't even know what was their main form of communication back then. Just television, I guess. So yeah. All right. This is also kind of scary. The House has passed a bill that allows corporations to share your data. So it allows the corporations, to share your data with almost, just share almost anything. Pretty much is anything if you read the thing.
You guys remember the retroactive immunity for telephone companies that did illegal things in the late 90s? It's like Room, 237 or whatever it was at AT&T. This is that permanently for all companies.
Now here's the scariest thing for me. Now, these companies have been sharing things with the NSA for a while. Well, under this thing, normally you'd be able to use a Freedom of Information request, and then they would tell you, yeah, we did that. But most of the stuff that goes on here is going to be exempt. So all this stuff's going to be secret sharing. You won't even know, and you won't even be allowed. You're not even allowed to ask questions. Just shut up and do your thing. Now that's scary. That still is not the scariest part out of all of this. Here's the scariest part for me. This is not something where the corporations can only share with the government, because let's face it, the NSA, they even, sometimes they need your data, but most of the time they already have it. And that's terrifying, but they already have it. The scariest thing for me is that under this law, the corporations are allowed to share information with each other. So there's basically no privacy at all.
Can you imagine Walmart data mining Facebook? It seems like if anything would create a singularity here on Earth and just gobble up the planet, that would be that.
I'm not wanting to get terrified, but that is terrifying. It's just what... Where can we go to avoid this nonsense? Millennials take over soon, because these old people in power, they don't understand things, and they're hitting things with hammer. They're like, we don't understand what this is. Let's smash it. Can we set it on fire? Yeah, set it on fire after you smash it. What accent was that? I don't even know.
I don't care if the NSA reads email. I don't even use email.
It's like, what are they going to read? My spam?
Really? I mean, it's like, this is, look at this. It's like, do you not see how this technology could maybe be used to suppress the citizenry and undermine our education system and slowly destroy our democracy by taking over media and brainwashing the...
Yeah, they do not see. And you know what happens when you say not see fast. All right, let's just move on and talk about Sony. So Sony, they had their big hack, and they were all, they were martyrs and everything. And I'm just going to mention this almost in passing, but right now, They are doing everything they can to silence journalism. They are sending out emails to journalists saying that if they release information that was just leaked to WikiLeaks, that they are breaking the law. They are saying that that they're telling people that they're going against the First Amendment for sharing information about Sony's draconian MPAA nonsense, where they're trying to censor the internet on a large scale to prevent piracy and other things. So all these things are coming out right now through this WikiLeaks report, and what they're doing is far worse than anything that happened to them. What happened to them was their own damn fault for not securing their service, and this is them attacking, our freedoms and liberties and the First Amendment and everything else, and the freedom of the press and all kinds of things. They're just blatantly attacking it and threatening it. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say about this, unless you have any special thing you want to mention.
Oh, well,
it's just bad Sony.
It's kind of the Wild West with technology. It's like we had this amazing bridge that lots of people used every day, and it fell down because we didn't build it to any kind of building specifications. And that's not our fault. It was the concrete manufacturers, because they should have made concrete that would last for 1,000,000 years. It's like, I'm not sure I follow your logic there, Sony.
All right, Google has listen here, Sony. Yeah, I don't even know where that's, whatever. No. All right, Google, they got another patent out, right? And this patent is for photoreactive paint. And you can paint your walls, and then it's going to function like e-ink. They'll be able to, display an image on the wall, and then like e-ink, that image will stay there until you refresh it with a new image. But they're saying they're going to be able to refresh this image on a wall fast enough that you could watch TV on your wall, on your desk. And what's even crazier is they're going to make a clear version of this. So with their patent, you'll be able to paint a clear coat on the wall, and then suddenly, like e-ink, it will be able to activate, display an image. If you want to just display one image, there it is, e-ink. Very, it's going to be lower power than actually having a device that has to refresh a gazillion times. But if you want to up the refresh rate and just, have fish swimming around your walls. I know what some of you guys are going to do in your naughty room, all over your walls. You guys should go outside. But yeah, this is kind of interesting and futuristic. I feel like the future's upon us.
I'd like to see this actually implemented, like how this actually works.
Yeah. Yeah, right now it's just a patent on paper, but seeing it in action would be a different thing. All right, you ready to talk about Ubuntu?
Oh, yeah. Ubuntu 15.04 is out, and you should all go download it. Although, they did some things, and it makes me very sad. See, because they were supposed to do convergence in 15.04 for x86 because there was a demo of a video. And so, in order to do that, I have to install Mir on x86 because it doesn't come with Mir, which is the new window thing that's going to replace x386, x11, whatever.
It's still running X server?
Well, yeah, because the Mir's not done yet. Unless you have an ARM. If you have an ARM platform, 15.04. But so right now the state of convergence is if you have like a Nexus 7, the 2013 Nexus 7, and a few other ARM devices listed on their page, you can install Ubuntu on that now. And it's really cool because if you have a Bluetooth mouse and you turn on the Bluetooth mouse, it'll turn your tablet into laptop mode. And so you can do window management like as if it was a laptop. But when you turn the mouse off, it goes back to being more manageable with your fingers. And so you don't have to deal with window placement. It sort of does automatic window placement and some other cool features. There's a really awesome video that I tweeted a couple of weeks ago. But it turns out it's still a huge pain in the ass to turn that on and get that running on x86. I've been working on that on the Microsoft Surface. I've basically got everything running on the Microsoft Surface. There's a bunch of kernel patches and crap like that. I got all that running. It runs great. It actually runs like a dream on the Surface Pro 3. The problem is I still can't get convergence and Mir to work correctly on x86, but I'm working on it.
Now, do you have to? I guess you'd have to. Do you have to be using Unity to have all the touchscreen functionality,
yes,
or is
Unity 8,
it's pretty much
which is not
going to be there
either? So with Unity 8 is there, you can install it, but it's not quote unquote final or ready. Really, 15.04 on the desktop really was not a lot of updates. Well, I think somebody
newer kernel, but it's not even the newest kernel. So
somebody in the audience just vented their spleen because they did go to System D over the System 5 in it, and so System D is there now and it's here to stay, and so somebody else just leaped through the monitor to choke me. But
yeah, but that's the problem with when we're talking about Linux. You can't say enough to please everyone, and if you leave one micro detail out, one guy is going to jump through the monitor and try to strangle you. And it's not that you didn't know about it or that you forgot about it. It's just that we don't want the show to be 4 hours long while you sit there and talk about every little possible scenario ever in the history of Linux / GNU.
There was one other thing I'll mention because it's kind of cool, and that is Groove Basin made its way into Ubuntu 15.04, largely I think because it appears in the Debian repositories. Groove Basin is a music player with an HTML interface, but it means that you can control your music from anywhere. So like if you've got it on your home computer, you can whip out your phone and control your music on your desktop computer through your phone just over a web interface. You don't need anything special. And so it's really neat, and you should totally check out Groove Basin.
Yeah, I've been using some different apps, applications with Ubuntu that have nice apps on your phone so that you can control it. But that's just as simple as going in and putting in your IP address and syncing up that way. Make sure you have your ports and everything all ready to go. That was pretty easy to do, but that sounds even better.
Yeah, this is pretty elegant.
Really nice. I like that. All right, next up. The Qualcomm Snapdragon 810 has a heat problem. This is another quick mention because there's a lot of new devices coming out that are featuring the 810, and there was some rumors that it might have a heat problem, and it looks like it does have a heat problem according to the tests. So I don't know. Just be warned that the 810 does have a heat problem if you're looking at different devices out there. So yeah,
that might be a new notification mode. It's like buzz, vibrate. Set my leg on fire.
Yeah. So how about turning, I don't even, why are we talking about this? MIT has invented a way to turn salt water into drinking water using solar power. They basically took a desalination plant and attached a solar farm to it. Look what we invented. That's like an Apple invention.
They need to get this out in California pronto because
I know.
People in California can't seem to make up. It's like, oh, we're going to hurt the fish if we put in a desalination plant. It's like, you're not going to have water. What's wrong with you?
You. Oh man, I don't know. It's like, did I miss something in this? It looks like they just attached a nice, solar system to a desalination plant, desalinization system. So maybe there's some innovations that are, built into that, but I don't know.
In other news, water can be turned into hydrogen and oxygen for fuel. Assuming you get some input energy that's greater than or equal to the amount of energy.
That was also invented at MIT. Or was it Berkeley? They invented hydrogen and oxygen from water. Who knew? It was really hot, and then never mind.
It was really great, but it has a terrible side effect of dihydrogen monoxide, and no one wants that.
Except for people who get hopped up on it. That's become an epidemic in science labs everywhere. Hopped up to death. That's my favorite song. Japan is going to be on the moon in 2018. Maybe they'll go to the dark side this time and fight off those damn reptilians. That's what I want them to do. If anybody can take them, I think it'll be the Japanese with their space lasers that we talked about earlier in the show. So the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, otherwise known as JAXA, they're going to be, up there. It's going to cost them only $83.4 million to $125 million. That's not too bad. So it'll be cool to have another country on the moon.
It's basically a test of lander technology, which might be portable for manned missions and missions to Mars. So this is sort of like a first step, I guess, for this type of a mission for Japan.
We should have been doing this 200 years ago if it wasn't for the damned Library of Alexandria, that little fire that happened. I bet we would have been there already. I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Do you guys think we would have been on the moon 200 years ago? I think we might have been. All right. So in Hong Kong, litter has become an epidemic, and that's sad because Hong Kong looks like a pretty city. It looks like a very, well, some people say it like the skyline might look like Tokyo or something, but once you get there, it's kind of dirty. So yeah, there's a terrible litter epidemic, and I'm sure they picked these video shots just to show how dirty it really is in the dirtiest places. I'm sure you can make New York look even dirtier, but what they're doing about it is interesting. They're collecting litter, taking it back to a laboratory using DNA modeling, and then putting up public advertisements showing the faces. They reconstruct them with the DNA modeling, and then they show the faces of litterbugs. So if you litter, you will be publicly shamed in Hong Kong.
Now, this type of thing is obviously just an educated guess. We're not actually good enough with genetics yet to reconstruct somebody's actual face from DNA. But there are some other articles that actually have a side-by-side with the genetic guess and then actual real people. It's actually uncannily close. So most of the time, not all the time.
Probably why they're doing it. And I think that's a pretty interesting way. I mean, I don't know if some people are going to care about being publicly shamed. I don't know. They should figure out a way to match it up with DNA in their database. Don't they have a DNA database there? Can't they just send them a fine of $500 in the mail or whatever? Or 500 Hong Kong dollars or something?
If I were a billionaire, I would be doing this for exactly the same kind of thing, except public restrooms. I would start with public restrooms. Littering it's okay. Public restrooms, because I don't know if you've ever had to use a public restroom. It's really bad, and it makes me wonder. It's like, is this some sort of alien experiment? Are there cameras in here watching this? Is this? Because why would anybody ever do what
I know? I think you're right. See, what happened was the aliens did invade, like in the 50s or something, and then they built public restrooms. Before that, there were no public restrooms, and you can't go back in time and check. You don't know. You're not going to go Google it because people are lazy, right? Because they've made us lazy. Anyway, they built all these public restrooms, and that's how they monitor our progress. They don't care about all the computers we make. They don't care about microchips. They don't care about advances in bioengineering. All they care about is how we treat our public restrooms. And when they're all clean, they're going to reveal themselves, and we'll have a utopian society. So will you please clean the freaking restroom?
First contact is not actually like interstellar warp technology. It's when we have a society advanced enough that the restroom doesn't result in people just crapping all over the walls.
I don't know.
I saw premise for a novel.
I saw this hole with some water in it, but I thought it might be easier to press my butt cheeks to the wall and push.
I mean, honestly, it seems like, I've encountered situations where it seems like it's more of an effort to do what I saw than to just use the facilities as designed.
Oh, God. Well, we've gone to shit. Literally. Let's move on here and talk about Chinese stuff. So in China, some scientists have genetically modified human embryos, and they're using the same sort of thing we've talked about. You guys have watched everything, and whenever I reference stuff back, I hope you know what I'm talking about.
See, this is a different topic, but immediately my brain is going to the same place. Can we genetically modify people to not destroy public restrooms?
That would be the only thing that I would condone it for that, for sure. Like in a heartbeat, yes. Modify the hell out of every embryo. All babies that will be born will have a kill switch if they mess with a public restroom. Toilet paper on the floor. I don't even care. We can have a margin of error. Let's say someone accidentally drops toilet paper on the floor, dead. That's it. It's fine. A margin of error is okay there. You'll be extra careful. Anyway, so what they've done is they've gone in and modified, and what they're trying to do is mainly correct defects and that sort of thing. And they've been able to do it with human embryos, and the implications are great. They'll be able to program DNA if this works. So CRISPR, what it does is it attaches to a bit of the DNA strand and then allows you to reprogram things. The one side effect is that they attach to the DNA and they start reprogramming things, but they're noticing that there's some anomalies. Some of the things that they didn't try to reprogram also ended up getting messed up or reprogrammed. So they're going to have to work through those first. But then they could easily be able to program DNA. I'm saying like a few years, maybe 10, 20 years in the future, we may be in a society where you maybe order a baby and say, like, I want a baby with these characteristics. I want him to be able to read really fast and jump, and they'll program the DNA so that he's a speed reader and he's got nice development in his leg muscles and glutes and things, so he can do those two things that you wanted really, really bad.
At least the potential for that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's down the road, way down the road, but it's there. So I don't know. I wonder what would be more interesting and also more of a, I guess, a social topic. Bioengineering and modifying your body with, implants and that sort of thing, or genetic manipulation of our very genome. Which one is going to be a bigger deal? Which one is going to have, I guess, I would think the bionics would have the greatest potential to improve things or make you into a superhuman. But I don't know, you can probably do a lot of things with just genetic modification.
It's possible. There are certain inoculations right now that if it happens, in vitro or while a fetus is still developing, then you can make make the embryo much less predisposed to certain types of genetic disorders or certain types of genetic diseases. But that's because cell replication is still going on. You get in enough good copies that the good copies will propagate. Sometimes that's just modifying a virus to deliver a virus that will modify the DNA sequence. But I think that the future of this type of technology relies on nano machinery that is able to read and write DNA just like a computer file. And then we will have much more better direct control over these kinds of things. Because until we do that, there's going to be all kinds of weird side effects with these types of machines because they're just so crude. But for first generation, this is pretty impressive.
Yep. Let's move on and talk about some gaming stuff. This is a new VR feedback glove, because right now you have the VR headsets and that sort of thing, but you can't actually feel things. So there is a group here, and I've lost their name already. Where is it? VR feedback, I guess. Is that the name of the glove? There it is. It's just Rice University. The George R. Brown School of Engineering. There we go. If I don't say exactly who it is, the Germans will get angry and be like, you did not specify who did this. You just said a group. So I did it. Anyway, they developed a glove that fills some air bladders quickly to tighten certain areas on your hand. I'll play the video a little bit, but
the project is called Ultra Haptics.
Because then you can know what's ultra happening. Yeah, that's right. It's kind of, I think it's kind of interesting. It's going to end up costing a lot of money, $500-600. That's the problem. It's going to cost more than the headset because it's such new technology. And you'll also have to wear a big glove on your hand. But I think the first generation, this will be gimmicky, where you'll get it for one or two different games or applications. But it could develop into something. But I don't think it's going to be a thing in the near future. I don't even think VR is prime time yet. This is a few steps behind that even. They'll have to make the technology smaller and cruder, and I don't know. They may end up finding a different way is better than just inflating bladders. I don't know.
I've seen each of these types of technologies before, but they're using a combination of ultrasonics, air bladders, vibration, et cetera, to do the haptic feedback. And so it could be that the combination of technologies is going to be the breakthrough versus one or the other.
All right. We're going to talk about modding quite a bit right now. And the first thing I want to talk about is GTA. There's a lot of GTA 5 mods out. I have not played GTA 5 yet, but now I kind of want to because there's a trainer that just came out, a little mod. Let you play as a cat or a hawk or a deer or whatever. I mean, you can. It's just ridiculous. That's for GTA for me has never been about the story. I don't get into a lot of the storylines and plots. Oh, some guy shot someone and killed someone else and got some drugs, and I just never got into that kind of thing. It's I guess interesting from a human standpoint of we're fighting for our survival and this is what we have to do. But this is more fun running around as a fox in a giant virtual world.
I guess like the horse driving the car.
This is a horse driving a car in this video. I didn't get that far.
The limit.
Oh, and that brings me to the next thing. Wendell, have you seen the time?
Uh-oh, it's rant 30 in the gaming segment. That's not good.
It is rant 30. This may not be as harsh of a rant 30 as it should be, but I think we may be on the precipice of something that I don't think is going to be positive for the future of gaming. So I'm going to bring it up right now. Valve, they just allowed gamers to upload things to the Steam Workshop, and they allowed them to charge money for their mods. Now, before mods, the way they work is you go and you modify a game. A lot of times you do so without the permission of whoever made the game. Sometimes the game makers make a mod engine. But the thing is that you're making a modification for their game that they worked on. They've done a ton of work. They've got an engine in the background that's running, and you're using their resources to create your own modification. And sometimes it'll add gameplay elements. With Skyrim, you can turn the game into anything you want. And I'm going to use Skyrim as an example a lot here, but there's mods for plenty of other games. And there's huge total conversion mods that may be a separate issue. But right now, if you go onto the Steam Workshop store, Wet and Cold, the brand new version 2, it's way better, they say, than Wet and Cold. Wet and Cold, what it does is if it snows, your character gets snow on him and he actually physically becomes cold and that sort of thing. So they added version 2. It's $5. And it's a modification to a game. Now, if you go over to the Skyrim Nexus where you can get all your mods for free and that sort of thing, you can get them. You used to be able to get them for free, and a lot of them still are free on the Steam Workshop. But they have not uploaded the new version, of course, because they're not selling it here. They're only going to add the new version to Steam. So a lot of people who used to get their mods here are probably going to be left out in the cold. They're going to have to go over there and fork over mods. They're not going to be able to manage the mods the same way that they used to with the mod organizer, hopefully, or the Skyrim Nexus mod manager or something like that, whatever they use to manage their mods. So those are two minor gripes already. Here's my big gripe. A mod is not a commercial product. It's not bug tested. Sometimes it's not ready for prime time. There's going to be mods that you really want and you buy, and they may break other mods that you have also purchased. So what do you do when you have 3 or 4 mods that you've paid for that all conflict with one another? And, normally with the mod, when it's free, you're like, oh, I just troubleshoot it or just not use it or something. But if you paid money for it, you probably want to use it. But if it breaks your game, that's going to be a mess. So that's one major concern. The other concern is that, a lot of the mod makers, they're going to start making mods and selling them for more than the cost of the original game, because a lot of times games go on sale on Steam and they're like $6-7, and then someone's going to make a mod for the game and they're going to end up making more money than the original creator of the game engine, the game world, whatever. They're going to end up making more money, and that's kind of weird for me, because modders are typically amateurs. Sometimes there's pros out there, but it's typically a platform for you to show off, hey, this is my mod, this is what I can do. And then a lot of times companies, especially Valve, will hire the cream of the crop as far as the modders go, and then give them jobs and allow them to work on commercial products. That's usually the way it's went. And I kind of do like that model. Now, I guess I'll let you go ahead and jump in and play devil's advocate now.
So it is true that games will use you get in a situation where you do have some total conversion mods, and you could have a situation where it does make sense to pay for the mod. Things like DayZ for Arma 2, that's worth every bit of $5, I think. The original Arma 2 mod, DayZ, I mean, that would be worth it. That would be fine. It is cool that you can do those kinds of things in Steam Workshop. For the particular example of like the Wet and Cold mod for Skyrim, I think $5 is a bit high. I think that those developers would have to be really careful and really, really engaged with the audience in order to make sure that their mod works with all the other popular mods, and they would have to sort of be a good citizen of that community if they want to charge for their mods. Like, just automatically, I'm going to expect a higher level of quality than you get from like the Nexus mod manager and some of the other mods and some of the fiddling and finagling that you have to do to get the mods working. So I could kind of see it, but I think $5 is really pushing it. I think that this kind of thing is, $1 or $2, maybe $3, but it is going to be a problem having all these different mods, especially the pay-for mods, working together. But at the same time, for total conversion mods, I could see it. For mods that are major overhauls, I could kind of see it. It would be interesting to see companies sort of backing this kind of thing. The only other example I could think of that this has really benefited and created a whole cottage industry is around riff tracks. If you guys are fans of Mystery Science Theater is just ridiculous amounts of fun. But the way that it used to was they would buy the rights to movies, and of course they couldn't buy the rights to new movies or good movies, and so they would only get the most terrible movies, and then these guys would sit in front of the movie and watch the movie and make fun of it, and then you would watch them watching the movie making fun of it. And so riff tracks was born from those same guys doing the same kind of thing. But the difference there is you just download an audio track, and this world of digital and stuff means that you can watch the DVD and play your own audio track in addition to the audio track that goes with the movie. And then you can hear their commentary and jokes and things like that as you watch a movie. Now, this is awesome because they no longer need to pay any licensing or royalties or anything for the movie. It's up to you to get your own copy of the movie, your own DVD, or whatever you want to do. But the audio track is the only thing they have to produce. You know, they can charge $5 or $10 or whatever for that audio track. And so this is sort of the same kind of remixing where I'm sure that Universal and Paramount and these other Lionsgate and these other movie studios are just super pissed off that somebody is making fun of their movies. I'm sure that it's, you know, that's keeping Michael Bay awake at night because their riff of Michael Bay movies or in general. Or
yeah, he's rolling around in his bed of money, just crying.
He probably is. Probably pissed off. And so it's magical if you haven't seen riff tracks. But something like that may come from a paid mod community because I can't imagine those guys doing it for the fun of it. And so this may elevate the status of mods in general. But it's going to be a really rocky transition, I think.
I don't know. It's like I'm really worried about all my Skyrim mods. I've got like 100 Skyrim mods. Can you imagine if half of those were $5? And my Skyrim would be exorbitantly expensive. I wouldn't even want to play it anymore. And the thing is, I don't even want to play Skyrim without those mods because that's the game I want to play. I don't want to play the console game that was the original Skyrim.
Yeah, these developers are going to have to. I mean, with 100 mods, you got to be talking like 10 cents, 25 cents a mod. And that's just a whole different for it to, because if it's $5 a thing, it's just not even worth it.
You know, I agree. I'm all for a mod like DayZ or, you know, a mod like Enderal or Nevrim, which are total conversion mods. I'm all for those being, you know, putting a price on them or something like that because they're like Nevrim's like going to be 30 or 40 hours of gameplay. That's huge. And it required a large team a lot of time. So it would be nice if they got something back for their money. But here's what I'm going to suggest, because mods are not, you know, normally professional, solid products. At least some of them are better than the games that come out. But, you know, by and large, most of them are not. Here's what I'm going to suggest. Why don't they do this with Valve? I know they've made a lot of money with their other things in the store, like the cosmetic mods that they've been doing for their own games, like skins for guns and hats and that sort of thing, and that's whatever. But for regular mods, why don't they give them like a donate button, or not even a donate button? Why don't they have a donate gate where you go to a thing and it's like, hey, this mod took a bunch of people a gazillion hours to make. Go ahead and enter your own price here. How much would you like to give them? And then you can put 0, and it's like, all right, fine, be a jackass, give them 0. Hope you enjoy your mod, scumbag. You know, just do something like that. You know, that maybe that would work. I don't know. I'm really worried about the future of all my mods, man. If I had to pay for those things.
I'm more worried about the mods that are like, hey, here's a Skyrim mod. You can get Foe Hammer in Skyrim, and anything's going to immediately explode as soon as you kill it with it. And it's like, ooh, I'll buy that for $1. And it's like, oh, it's just going to ruin the game.
Yeah. And guess who's all for it? Tyler Wilde thinks it's going to make gaming better. I'm always on the opposite end of arguments with this guy, but he also agrees with us in the massive stuff like Enderal, you know, and well, I guess DayZ, he doesn't say that, but I don't know. Worried about compatibility, worried about quality, worried about customer experience, guys. That's my biggest gripe on this. I want to know what you guys think, because I do look at the comments, especially on our website, and you know, maybe I'm looking at it from a different angle or something like that, but you know, I'm not too crazy happy about all the mods on the Nexus being up for. I mean, it'll be up to the developers of the mod, but still, I don't know. I think mods should really be more of a platform for people to show off what they can do, so that they can move on and make an indie game of their own, or join a studio and make a game. That's
just because you can do a paid
mod
old school. Doesn't mean you should do a paid mod.
That's probably where we could end this. All right, everybody, don't forget the shirts. Last chance. A few more days left on these, and that's it. They're going to be gone beginning of the month, and then we'll have our new shirt of the month. Who knows what that's going to be? I think it's going to be a public bathroom scene. Yes.
No.
It's time for another. No, it's not.
Just
Time
a
for another
censored
movie.
block. It's like, no.
I don't know what we're going to do about the tech next week. I'm going to be driving across the country from New England to the Seattle area. I'll be moving next week. I'll be somewhere in Minnesota. I don't know.
We could shoot an episode of the tech where we don't actually talk anything about the news. We just pick random things that we want to talk about, and then
People would watch it.
like shoot
if
that
they
on
would
Saturday or whatever. Just be like,
Yeah.
done.
If they would watch that banana fight, which is unreleased, we did shoot the whole banana fight, but we're never going to release it. But if they would watch that, I bet they would watch that other thing you were talking about. Never going to be seen. All right, everybody, feel free to subscribe if you want to. I could be more tough about it, but no, I'm not going to. Somebody emailed me the other day and asked me why I don't threaten people anymore, and I threatened him for asking me why I don't threaten people. So he learned his lesson. He went away with his tail tucked under, his ears back, and a little drool of pee on the ground.
A puddle of his own making.
He was a dog. All right, everybody. We'll see you some other time. I don't know. I'll be gone for a week. Maybe I'll try to do a video. See you.